Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, or welcome. My name is LK and today we are talking about how to be a successful beginner home gardener. Whether you've been dreaming about having fresh cut flowers in the home, or maybe just some fresh veggies and herbs in the kitchen, or potentially even just bringing in some greenery to brighten up your space and make it feel a little bit more well designed, then I'm here today to share with you some of my best tried and true, highly researched tips on how to be a very successful beginner gardener. As you might know, if you've been watching the channel, I've been lucky enough to be renting this beautiful Spanish home in San Diego with a huge backyard for the past year now. And honestly, I really never knew that gardening was going to bring me so much purpose and joy, especially as a younger person who doesn't even own a home. But even as a total beginner, I've managed to figure out how to harvest things like zucchini, corn, a huge haul of potatoes, 5 different varieties of tomatoes and peppers, and it came with a lot of trial and error. So in order to save you time, I'm really excited to share with you some of my best tips in the case that you want to start incorporating gardening into your home lifestyle. And before you start thinking, well, I can't garden because I don't have a giant backyard, whether you have a small patio, a balcony, a concrete slab, or even just a small studio, I know that these tips will help jumpstart your success so that you can start bringing some gardening life into your home. So let's jump in and start with tip number 1. I used to think that you could just go to the store and buy some seeds, put it in some basic soil, put it in the sun, add some water, and watch it grow and hopefully reap what you sow. But I was actually pretty wrong. There is a season for everything. And honestly, I think this is the most important thing that I've come to realize. So if you're trying to grow some heat and light-loving plants during the winter, you're going to be disappointed. And I don't want you to be discouraged from gardening. So knowing when and how to plant your seeds and how to get them to start thriving is key to really building confidence as a gardener, especially as a beginner. After struggling to figure out on the back of those little cards on the plants at Home Depot what to plant and when, and even if I could in my area, I found myself deep in a hole of gardening content, and I found tons of really great creators and content out there, but then I realized that most of the content that I was consuming was not even right for my climate or my soil type, and I was really frustrated because I was consuming like 15 videos a day on one topic just to get to one answer, which is what got me to realize that I need a little bit more of an organized structure for learning information about gardening, especially something that's relevant to me. I started searching for some kind of gardening class that would be at least specific to my area or my zone, or even just what I'm trying to focus on as a beginner, and that led me to today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. If you're not familiar, Skillshare is the biggest online community for creatives like you and me. They offer thousands of classes in all different types of creative fields like interior design, feng shui, productivity, and yes, even gardening. What's great about Skillshare is that whether you're a beginner or you're already someone who has some skills but you want to level up or just dive even deeper, you can learn at your own pace with super easy to follow classes with actual industry professionals. For someone like me whose main passion in life truly is gardening and home decor and interior design, Skillshare has been the absolute perfect platform to learn in a more organized and structured way while also feeling like it's something super easy and approachable and consumable to do. One class that I have been really loving is the gardening calendar, what to do each month in the garden. It's been so helpful in breaking down exactly what to plant and when to plant, which is crucial for making your garden feel like it's thriving all year round, especially in an area like Southern California that has such a flexible growing season. Right now, Skillshare just launched some really exciting new features around smarter class categories like creative careers and AI and innovation. Now that it's not like 100 degrees outside every day and the days are getting shorter, I've been really inspired to improve my gardening for the cooler months and also figure out what plants can actually grow during these colder months as well. I think fall is such a productive season, so it's the perfect time to dive into gardening or maybe just to refine one of those skills or hobbies that you've been thinking about. The first 500 people to use the link in my description will get 1 whole free month of Skillshare for free. And truly, you'd be really surprised how much you can learn in 1 month. So thank you so much again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. So if you're not sure what zone you're in, then I will put a link in the description below where you can enter your zip code or your city name, and it'll tell you what zone your area is in. So this is the USDA plant hardiness zone map, and I'm just putting in this zip code from Los Angeles just as an example. You'll see that it zooms in directly to that area on the map, and it'll tell you what plant hardiness zone you're in, and then anytime you're planting, you can just make sure that you are planting in zone 10B, for example. But you can also type in a city name, so if I just type in San Diego, it'll take me to a general area, and you can see just in the general area that there's a couple different plant hardiness zones. We have 11A and 10B, and then if I zoom out even more, we can also start to see 10A and even 9B. And then as we move around the map, we can even see more zones all the way up to, I think, 7A. So it really just depends on what zip code you're in. So make sure you're very specific with it, because even within a city or a county, it can absolutely change. And this will really help you have a lot of success with planting, because certain plants thrive better in certain seasons in certain areas. So you don't want to be planting tomatoes in February if that's not going to work in your area. I used to think that I could just go to the garden section and pick out a little start, which is just like a little baby tomato plant or cucumber plant, and just bring it home and put it in the ground and it would be fine, which is honestly a really great option for a lot of people. But I realized that a lot of these plants are actually over fertilized in big greenhouses so that they can overproduce for all of these big stores, especially during like the big growing seasons like spring and summer. And so I feel more comfortable purchasing plants from local nurseries, especially because they know a lot about native plants in your specific area. Additionally, a lot of the local nurseries that I know about aren't spraying their plants with harsh chemicals or non-organic fertilizers. But if you are going to a big box store to purchase a little start or some seeds, my favorite brands for little starts are Burpee. I feel like I've had the best success with them. They always seem to grow and do really well, so they must be doing something right. And then for seeds, I've had a lot of success with germination from Botanical Interests. I really think growing a lot of their lettuce has been great. I've grown a lot of their beans and some of their cucumbers as well. And then I've also got this brand from the Dollar Tree. These radishes came up, as well as I've had great luck with their corn. And these were only $1 for 4 of them, so this was a really economical deal. And then I also picked up some of these from Home Depot from Fairy Morse. These always come up. I had some really great onions as well. So I just suggest experimenting with a bunch of different brands. So I used to think that all soil was the same. There was Miracle-Gro and then there was the expensive bags, but at the end of the day, it's all dirt. And in a way, I think I was right, but also in a way I was wrong. I've tried out so many different ones to see which ones had the best success. And honestly, there's so much to dive into, but I'm gonna make it really easy for you. So you can pick up any bag of soil that you want, that you can afford at any hardware store or nursery. And you'll realize by lifting it up and kind of just putting your fingers through it, that there's a lot of different kind of filler in there. And this is stuff that's been broken down over a long period of time that's added a lot of nutrients into the soil. But in some of these cheaper brands like Miracle-Gro, I have experienced big chunks of glass or even plastic. But either way, in the more expensive bags, you're still gonna have some level of filler, and it's usually going to be wood chips. So what I like to do is I have this little makeshift kind of sieve that I've created with some chicken wire and some old pieces of wood from my broken bench. It was originally broken and I replaced one of the slats, and I used the broken pieces in order to create this sieve so that I could put the soil on top and actually just kind of sift through it. And then all of the big thick chunks that were in that soil will sit on top. And I just use it as mulch, like in my front yard, just to put it around like the palm trees and stuff to keep the moisture in the ground. But all that stuff underneath is now really fine soil that will really help aid in the growth of your plants. Mainly, I think sifted soil is best for seed planting, as you don't want some big piece of wood blocking light to your plant. And lastly, some soils with specific names like cactus or citrus soil have a lot of perlite and drainage material in them, as cactus and citrus plants don't like to sit in a lot of water. So all of these things are really worth considering. The soils that I actually really love are anything that says organic on it, just tends to have a better feel to it. It also is a lot richer in nutrients. I can really tell that my plants grow so much faster. I also really like this Kellogg organic all natural garden soil. It comes in a really big bag for like $10, which is really affordable, and you're gonna go pretty far with 3 cubic feet. That can cover about a 6x6 bed just at one level. So for example, I created a 6x6 bed with 4 2x6s, and that covered just one entire level. So if I wanted to build up to have a taller raised bed so that it's easier for me to get into and I don't have to really bend down as much, then I would need 1 bag per level. So that is just to kind of give you an idea of how much volume you might need. Yeah. So I used to think that you needed tons of space to garden. All I had ever seen were Martha Stewart and Ina Garten's yards. I thought there's no way that I could ever garden in a small space like a balcony or a studio apartment, let alone even just like a little personal backyard. But I have learned that there are so many different possibilities and avenues for growing, and many of them are actually quite compact. So let's start with something called grow bags. These really hold moisture really well, and that's why they're really great to have. They're made of fabric that allows for easy circulation of air, and and the end result is that soil in grow bags warms up more quickly than soil in the ground. They automatically regulate how much water each plant receives, preventing overwatering or root rot. Grow bags also have a lot of advantages over traditional pots, including the breathability, and they're also easy to carry. A lot of them come with handles as well as liners so they don't leak on your floor or your patio, and they're really great to have because, fortunately, grow bags allow you to separate plants from the cold earth if you are living in an area that has a lot of snow. They work best for plants that don't have deep roots such as tomatoes, potatoes, salad greens, and herbs. But you can literally grow anything in a grow bag. The best part is that grow bags can be folded up and stored with minimal space during the off season if you're not growing. They're very easy to transport around, and they'll do just about exactly what a pot or an in-ground raised bed would do. Other than that, I would suggest you also head over to the Dollar Tree in the springtime when they have all of their garden stuff out, and they've got these really great stackable pots that kind of help you become a vertical gardener. So if you're really short on space, especially on a balcony, then you maybe want to consider growing upward. And these pots are only like $1.50 each, so it's really affordable to create like a 12-tiered system that you can put a ton of different stuff into. Just make sure that you drill a hole in the very bottom of them so that you can actually have that drainage. And then my favorite thing that I have really gotten into this year, which is something brand new to me, if you have garden space to do it, I would highly suggest doing a raised bed option. So the ones that I have that I first started out with were just these like concrete bricks from Home Depot, and then I got some 2x6s and just cut them down to the sizes that fit my area. Or I really like purchasing some of these corrugated metal beds. I think they just have kind of a cool look, but they're also really customizable. You can put them in a ton of different shapes, and they all can be really compact or really big. It's just totally up to you and how much space you have. So first of all, no matter where you're planting, whether it's in a pot or a raised bed, you are watering that plant so that your plant can continue to grow and thrive. And what happens is by watering it, you constantly are washing out all of those nutrients. And after a while, you do need to amend that soil by adding in some more nutrients. For example, you can see on most bags of soil, it only says that it feeds for about like 90 days. Sometimes it's 60 days. It just depends on the brand and the soil. But that means that the nutrients in there are really only going to last for that amount of time before you need to start amending it with something else. There are other things that you could be adding to your soil to make it even better. So one of my favorite things to add is worm castings. Earthworm castings help increase soil's capacity for water retention and also improve the soil aeration. This kind of replaces the process of having tons of worms in your soil and feeds beneficial microorganisms that produce, store, and slowly release plant nutrients into the soil, helping roots grow fast and fibrous, which promotes a lot of rapid plant growth. They also surprisingly repel pests, and you only need a little bit, and just by mixing it in there, it really amplifies the quality of your soil. I also like to add in this mycorrhizal powder. Mycorrhizae powder is a product that contains mycorrhizal fungi, which is a beneficial fungi that forms a symbiotic relationship with plant roots. It kind of acts as an extension of the plant's roots, allowing the plant to access nutrients and water that are otherwise unavailable. I think what this is basically doing is creating this like underground communication system, kind of how mushrooms do, and they're all exchanging energy and information and nutrients. You can mix this powder in a variety of ways, including mixing it with water or applying directly to seeds by sprinkling a little powder into the soil or planting hole before planting. It helps plants establish more quickly and boosts healthy growth by supplying additional water and nutrients, therefore helping plants resist drought while resisting diseases and giving your plants a chance to thrive on poor soil or adverse conditions. And when it comes to me planting my own seeds in my own soil, I create my own little custom mix that has its own amendments in it so that I can make sure that I'm going to give those little seedlings their best life. I start off with whatever soil I have on hand, and then I add in 1 part worm castings, 1 part mycorrhizal powder, and 1 part of this seed starting mix, which is full of peat moss, vermiculite, and coconut coir. Peat moss and coconut coir are great for drainage, and I really like to add vermiculite on top of this as well because it's really great for water retention, and it also lets in a lot of light. You really want your seeds to have as much access to water, oxygen, and light as possible. I also like to add in a little perlite as well for some filtration and drainage. If your soil in a little pot that you're putting your seeds in is too thick and too dense, it's not going to have too much luck actually getting a lot of that sunlight that it does need. And that's why a lot of those little white rocks are in the soil, because it just helps with drainage and filtration. But the one thing that really upped my game when it came to planting seeds was adding in this Espoma seed starter fertilizer. Seed starter fertilizer is a small amount of fertilizer that's applied near the seed to help plants grow early and develop strong roots. As they grow quickly, they're developing larger leaves, which actually is needed for photosynthesis. And faster growing plants are more resistant to disease and insects. It can also help all the seeds emerge from the soil at the same time, so all of your plants are at the same level of maturity. It just helps create a really rich soil environment for seedlings. Most seed starter fertilizers contain at least 20% phosphorus, which is essential for new roots and preventing transplant stress. They also usually contain quick releasing nitrogen, which gives seeds a nutritional boost to get those greens growing. Becoming a successful beginner gardener is such a process, and it's a practice of patience, but it's so much fun. There's so much more to learn about sun and shade and watering, fertilizing, and then even pests. So let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it, because I have tons more to share with you. And I just wanted to share with you my top 5 best essential successful tips that you need in order to get started as a home gardener, whether you're doing it on your balcony or in your backyard or maybe even in your kitchen. Gardening is such a natural extension of the home, and I would love to do more of that on this channel. So please hit that like button if you did, and hit the notification bell if you want to see the next installment of this series if everyone in the comments votes that they want to see more of this. Other than that, I am jumping back into my breakfast nook makeover, so make sure you subscribe to finally see that. I think I'm finally getting close to the finish line, and I've got a bunch of backyard content on this channel, so check out this playlist here, as well as the other videos that I will link in the description below, along with any of the product links. So just in case you want to try one of these products or check them out for yourself just for research, I will link that down there. So hopefully you guys feel confident enough to get started on gardening, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.